Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Freedomwatch. I had several things I want to share with you this evening, so let's just go ahead and get right into it. I came across this document from a friend online, so it's something definitely interesting that I think everybody might want to check out. But it's saying military vaccine mandates, Department of Defense purchasing 500 million Abject syringes to inject every person in America with coronavirus vaccine. And then it says, natural news. Anybody who thought the U.S. military was preparing to force vaccinate every American with coronavirus vaccine has just found strong evidence to confirm the plan. According to a press release from the U.S. Department of Defense featuring an announcement from Lieutenant Colonel Mike Andrews, the DoD is preparing with HHS to acquire 500 million Abject vaccine injection devices, with deliveries expected in October of this year. All right, so searching this document, I just got to taking a real serious look at Trump and overall, to his service, to us, and I just dug up some other interesting facts about him.
And if you remember, not too long ago, Donald Trump was smoozing with the Jewish community, and they did a search on him, on his ancestry, and it turns out that his mom is of royal bloodline. She was a descendant of the Plantagenets, and then the Plantagenets go back with Henry III's family, the Norman kings, which includes William the Conqueror. And then their bloodline is said to go back with royalty from Israel, back to King David. And it says in the word in the end times that the Antichrist will go into the temple, into the Jewish temple, and sit on the throne and proclaim himself God.
1418, 22 years when I'm gone. Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. So I'm taking on China.
We pray in 2020 it would be born again. We pray for your spirit to move across our nation. We humble ourselves and we pray.
You mentioned the Bible. You've been talking about how it's your favorite book, and you said, I think last night in Iowa, some people are surprised that you say that. I'm wondering what one or two of your most favorite Bible verses are. Well, I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. You've always been with the Democrats. Vote for me. What the hell do you have to lose? Remember?
So, I just wanted to throw that in. So we'll just get right back to the document. It just seems like, I'm kind of myself personally and looking at Trump a little bit in a new light, you might say. But back to the document, the Abject syringes come with an optional RFID tag so that healthcare workers can track the GPS location and identity of the individual being injected via the Abject website. With an optional RFID NFC tag on each BFS pre-filled syringe, Abject will make this possible. Before giving an injection, the healthcare worker will be able to launch a mobile app and tap the pre-filled syringe on their phone, capturing the NFC tag's unique serial number and GPS location. Date, time. The app then uploads the data to a government-selected cloud database. Aggregated injection data provides health administrators an evolving real-time injection map. Yes, you will be tracked, tagged, bagged, and injected, and most likely against your will. The $138 million contract aims to achieve the ultimate production goal of over 500 million pre-filled syringes doses in 2021. Notably, there are around 327 million people living in the United States. That means the Department of Defense project will produce enough coronavirus vaccine doses to cover every man, woman, and child in America. The only reason they would need so many doses if there was a plan underway to force vaccines on us, on everyone. If corona vaccines were planned to be optional, respecting the vaccine's choice of individuals, not more than 100 doses would be needed. The fact that 500 million doses are being manufactured is an admission to the DoD's plan to make coronavirus vaccines mandatory. Present-day vaccines that claim to treat measles, mumps, chickenpox, etc., are manufactured with a bizarre list of toxic and unethical ingredients, including aluminum, mercury, thimerosal, antibiotics, squalene, aborted fetal tissue, formaldehyde, MSG, live viruses, and HCG, an infertility chemical. So along with vaccinating us, they intend to sterilize us. Which ingredients are going to be formulated into the coronavirus vaccine? And if the coronavirus vaccine is going to be produced without any real quality control or clinical trials, how will companies or government agencies know whether the vaccine is safe? See, like, I'm definitely not in no kind of way a supporter of Fauci, but, like, it seems to me that, Fauci even said, like, just a short, like, month ago or something that we would be years away from a vaccine to treat coronavirus. So, like, now all of a sudden, they're pressing it for October of this year. I mean, it seems like, that's not enough time to get an adequate study of if this is even good or bad for us. So I suppose it's just something like, we're supposed to take their word for. So this goes on to just, a few things about Trump that I stumbled across. there's some cuts of some television churches that are meeting in God's name.
No, Reverend, you know what you need? You need a Holy Ghost enema right up your rear end.
You are a foul devil. Do you know who you are talking to? Foul devil.
I'm not a witch,
Who are you?
but I'm witch for Jesus.
Jesus has no witches. You are a devil. You are not set for deliverance, and you are free to go to hell.
Shall pass through, then you shall be trodden down.
Let me should get this straight.
Yeah, those churchgoers seem to be filled with the Spirit, all right, but I don't think it was the Holy One.
So then back into this vaccine, and then they're back to talking about, the new vaccine they're going to hit us with. Vaccine safety isn't the goal. Mass murder and depopulation is the real objective. With LA County recently announcing a plan to keep its residents locked down for another 3 months, and with the FDA and CDC conspiring with Big Pharma to grant emergency approval to vaccines which could not possibly go through the required safety trials, it's abundantly clear that safety is not the issue. Even Bill Gates admits that 700,000 people could experience side effects from a coronavirus vaccine, and some of the side effects, no doubt, include death. Wow. Okay, and this is, if they're doing this to you, this is assault with a deadly weapon. From a human rights perspective, a mandatory vaccination is assault with a deadly weapon and a violation of basic human dignity and the rights of personhood. This is self-evident from the fact that vaccines kill people every year in America, a verified fact that's admitted by government in its quarterly vaccine damage reports that you can look up on the website posted. But if vaccines kill and maim people, which they do, then forcing especially fast-track vaccines on someone against their will is a form of violence and a clear felony against that person. Someone attempting to assault you with a deadly weapon, you have every right to defend yourself under U.S. law. No emergency declaration nullifies your exclusive ownership over your own body, and no legitimate government would ever attempt without informed consent. We don't have a system of medicine at all. In its place, we have a system of authoritarian medical tyranny, and any such police state should be resisted and defeated by any liberty-minded citizen. And if Trump is going to push a medical police state on America, he no longer deserves to be president at all and should be voted out of office at the next opportunity or pressured to resign before the election. You can't make America great again if you're running armed vaccine goon squads that medically rape Americans so that Big Pharma can cash in on the deadly pandemic. Trump's going to need to pick a side here. And if he picks Big Pharma, then Trump becomes an enemy of the people. It's simple as that. And if Trump supporters there need to come to their senses and realize, based on current observable evidence, it looks like Trump is about to become the Antichrist by pushing the mark of the beast RFID vaccine tracking technology that will no doubt be used to deny anti-vaxxers access to commerce and to public transportation. Is this even America anymore? I mean, it is pretty crazy. It does very much seem like, the mark of the beast scenario that's coming in, and that, it seems to be like he's bringing in the New World Order.
Transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another. But we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
And we give it back to you, the people.
That all changes, starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you.
None shall interfere. Do as you please.
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again.
Have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle. We have real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision. A new world order can emerge, is more than one small country. It is a big idea.
Pope Benedict XVI is calling for a new world.
They think Toronto's something. Wait till they come to Boston. Toronto.
Leave us to ourselves. Don't leave us to our foolish thinking. Lord, we want all that you have, all that you have.
Yes.
We thank you.
We'll let Mike up.
All right, that just, just like blows my wig back. I remember when, Bush was making all them speeches about the New World Order. And, I mean, I definitely did not vote for a New World Order. I definitely did not vote for a forced vaccine. I mean, it seems a lot of these politicians have just got plain out of control lately. I mean, they think that basically that they're royalty now. And I don't know when this happened. It happened during this virus sometimes, but, under everybody's noses, that all of a sudden the governors and these people that we voted for have deemed themselves all powerful and to know what's better for us than we do. But a few people in authority are starting to realize this, and they're speaking out.
Mike up a little bit. Is that better? Okay. I just want to personally and publicly go on record supporting this resolution before us this evening. Guys, it's simple, like a lot of them have said. The Constitution needs no explanation. It's been enforced for several hundred years now. It's easy to understand. It says what it means and means what it says. And the last time I read the Declaration of Independence, it specifically reminds all of us that we're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, which means God-given. Among these, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And that governments were instituted among men specifically to secure our God-given rights. And it says when government becomes destructive to these ends, meaning when they go above and beyond trying to secure our liberties and trying to take them, it's the right of the people to alter or abolish that government, either by voting or ultimately, God forbid, to use our Second Amendment right to protect ourselves from tyranny. And I'm just asking all of y'all to unanimously join our sister counties of Wilkes, Surrey, Stokes, Lincoln, and Cherokee and get on board with this thing and publicly demonstrate to us that you're willing to uphold and honor the same oath I took when I put my hand on God's word and held my other hand up to him and swore that I'd give my life to defend that Constitution. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but regardless of what y'all do or don't do, I'm not going to enforce an unconstitutional law. I'm going to do that. I'm going to protect the people of this county regardless of what's done here. So I'm just praying. I've been praying about this thing all week, that God would touch y'all's heart and say, hey, let's get on board. Let's do the right thing. Let's let these people know that we're here to support them, and we're not going to allocate any personnel, finances, resources, or facilities to infringe on their liberties. Thank you.
I mean, thank God there's people like this, coming forward. All I got to say for that, it's definitely about time. Just might be a few patriots left.
Video. I've been in law enforcement for 10 years, and I'm speaking to my peers, other fellow officers, people in law enforcement position. I've seen officers nationwide enforcing tyrannical orders against the people, and I'm hoping it's a minority of officers, but I'm not sure anymore, because every time I turn on the television, every time I look to the internet, I'm seeing people arrested or cited for going to church, for traveling on the roadways, for going surfing, opening their businesses, going to the park with their families, or doing nails out of their own house, using their own house as a place of business, and having undercover agents go there and arrest them and charge them with what? With a crime? I don't know what crime people are committing by doing nails in their own house, but we're seeing this more and more and more, and we need to start looking at ourselves as officers and thinking, is what I'm doing right? Now, I want to remind you that regardless of where you stand on the coronavirus, we don't have the authority to do those things to people just because a mayor or a governor tells you otherwise. I don't care if it's your sergeant or your chief of police. We don't get to violate people's constitutional rights because somebody in our chain of command tells us otherwise. It's not how this country works. Those are de facto arrests. We're violating people's rights and taking money from them, or even worse, arresting them and depriving them of their freedom when they are exercising their constitutional rights. So let's talk about that. Let's read something right here off of the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal. Among these, we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their power from the consent of the governed, meaning our power and any government official's power is derived from the people. Okay? We don't hold power over our citizens. It's contradictory to everything that our country stands for. And this is what I'm seeing. First Amendment rights, telling people they can't go to church, freedom of religion. Okay? Telling people they can't protest, freedom of assembly. Fourth Amendment violations, illegal traffic stops to check for papers. What are you, the Gestapo? Is this 1930s Nazi Germany? You don't get to stop people unless you have reasonable suspicion or probable cause that they have committed a crime. And I know people that have personally been stopped saying, we want to see papers showing that you're essential.
David 2, copy a phone call.
That is not how our job works, okay? What really has been pissing me off lately is the fact that these officers that are going out here and enforcing these tyrannical orders, what they're doing is they're putting my job and my safety at risk. Because what you're doing is you're widening the gap between public trust and law enforcement officers. And what that's going to do is it's going to, I mean, look at what's happened to law enforcement in the last 10 years. Less and less public trust, and more often than not, that is a result of isolated incidents that get blown out of proportion. Well, they're not isolated anymore. They're happening every single day. And the thing that I want you guys to realize is that our power that we hold as law enforcement officers is nothing more than a facade. It's a badge and a gun. And people, you don't realize, if you haven't lived in anarchy, if you haven't seen combat, things can be stripped from people in a heartbeat. And that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that these actions are going to wake a sleeping giant, i.e. the American people, okay? They are going to be put in a position where they won't have their rights trampled anymore. And us as law enforcement officers, we'll have our ability to enforce the law stripped from us in about 10 minutes, okay? I think what is going to happen if this continues is we're going to see bloodshed in the streets, okay? I don't want to see bloodshed in the streets on either side of this coin. I don't want to see fellow officers get injured or killed, and I certainly don't want to see citizens get injured or killed. And I promise you, most of you out there doing these tyrannical acts against our citizens, you're not ready for combat. You're not mentally or physically ready for combat in the first place. I promise you, you don't want to go through that, and I hope I never have to go through that again. You don't get to just say, well, I'm doing this because I was told to do so, or I'm following orders, or I need to keep this job. Guess what? I need to keep this job more than anybody. I have 3 young children. I have 2 houses. Like, I have the same sob story that the rest of you guys have. But my personal choices and my living arrangements, no matter what they are, don't allow me to trample on people's rights. And I don't understand why that concept is so hard for people to understand. Listen, you need to stand up for what's right. You need to, if you're part of a department or an agency that is asking people or asking their officers or their deputies to impose on people's rights and infringe on their freedoms, you need to step up and say, no, that's not me. That's not what I signed up for, and that's going against my oath. And if that costs you your job, so be it. At least you'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror at night. I've already expressed this to my department. And luckily for me, I come from a department that I feel like my chain of command shares my view, but I don't care what department you're part of or what your chain of command thinks. You don't get to trample on people's liberty. And so, as a special operations veteran, I've fought on the streets of Iraq under the U.S. government's guise of freedom. And I'm telling you what, the American people are going to you are going to wake a sleeping giant, and they are going to fight 10 times harder for their freedom on their soil than anything you've ever seen before. And if that's something you're willing to face, then keep trampling on people's rights. But I promise you, the American spirit of defiance is going to rise again, and it's going to be a big problem for our country. So I'll leave you with this, something that I learned as an E-nothing in the Army. No matter what situation you're put in, if you look inside yourself and ask yourself one question, am I doing the right thing? You ask yourself that, you know the answer. And no amount of money or no order or law or anything should be able to make you go against doing the right thing. So I'm imploring...
It's pretty crazy, the stuff we're looking at going into these days, man. Like, right under our noses, rights are being taken away from us, and everything's changing, and I don't know under whose... I remember when the president did turn over authority to the governors like that they would have a major role in deciding when we get off of this lockdown or whatever. But I think that a lot of these governors have just basically turned into tyrants right in front of our eyes. And thank God there's a few public officials, like these couple last officers, like I just showed, that seem to really have taken their job and taken the oath that they've given seriously. But for every, it's only a couple officers doing this. For every one officer, there's hundreds of them that are like this. I mean, it's pretty foul. I think I've seen enough. The lady's got a kid with her and everything. I mean, it's out of control, the things that are happening these days. And I mean, and this is what really, irks me most about it, is they're letting all these criminals out. I came across this is in California where I am, and they've released, 7 high-risk sex offenders have gotten released from jail. I mean, like straight-up sex offenders, because apparently, they need enough room in the jails for real criminals, like that lady that wasn't wearing her mask, or somebody that wasn't practicing social distancing. I said that in another one of my presentations that, I mean, I think they're saying even that the masks are bad, that's not even supposed to be what you're doing. A lot of real doctors are coming forward and saying that we need to develop a herd immunity, that keeping ourselves concealed from it is making the whole situation worse. But to me, it seems like that, that this coronavirus for some of these politicians has been like the answer to their prayers and dreams. And we're really, taking a turn into a bad direction. And I mean, that's what it's seeming like. It's not too hard for me to believe that they intend to come here with armed and force us to take a chip. And that is all I'm hearing lately also on the news, is about contact tracing. Like they're going to be tracing who you talk to. Like there's people actually being hired for these jobs that are going to basically be spies on their fellow citizens and turn in reports on their activities and what they've been doing. I mean, it definitely leaves me to wonder if this is even America anymore. The way things are changing, it certainly doesn't seem like it. Thank you for giving me your time. Y'all have a good one.